All right, guys, welcome to this week's SC and Scrappy. And I know it's going to be dropped a day earlier than normal. It is Monday instead of Tuesday. But, Lucas and I have, oh, by the way, that's Lucas. That's Lucas. Yeah. If you don't know Lucas, we are doing a state preview of Fargo, and it's Fargo week, man. I mean,
I'm hyped.
It gets no bigger, right?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, this is the Mecca. I mean, I made that little comparison, but at some point I'm going to make a T-shirt like referencing the travel to Mecca. But I mean, this is wrestling's Mecca. This is the pilgrimage. This
Yeah.
is where legacies are made. You know, like it's Fargo.
So for those of you who haven't watched several days in a row now of our conversations of We Own the Dome, we covered 16U men Greco, 16U freestyle, blah, 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 so on and so forth over the last several days. Today, we're focused in on the Southeast and the Southeastern states and who we kind of are interested in is going to kind of emerge and have a great Fargo. Okay.
Yep.
I want to say, you always miss someone, and there's going to be somebody off the radar that we don't even mention in this that has a great Fargo. And if we don't mention you, I hope it's you. I mean, that's what I would say. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into each of the different states, and in the description below, if you don't want to hear us talk about Georgia or North Carolina or whatever the case is, you can jump to your specific state. It should jump to the video to that point in time as we're talking about the state, your state, the state that you're most interested in. Before we do that, though, one thing stands out to me, and that is the schedule has changed. And Lucas, if you're not aware, in the past, right, the 16U women kind of kicked us off. And then I think it was maybe the 16U men freestyle. And then we went to junior women and junior men and then Greco. Okay.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Right. So this year, 16U women and junior women start on the same day. Their tournament is the same day and ends the same day. Both Saturday and they do Saturday and Sunday. And the thing that's interesting about that is in the years past, we've had girls compete in both 16U and juniors because they could. They had days off in between. I don't know if they're allowed to compete in both tournaments this year. And if they are, would they?
I mean, I think it depends on the girl, but I would imagine it'd be like any other tournament where if you're in two brackets and you're wrestling in one, and then maybe you get called the second one, the 45-minute break would be in effect. Like I just think it'd play out like any other USA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, and it's possible. I will say there are girls that are listed at 16U that would normally be listed on the junior roster as well that aren't listed on the junior roster. Now, does that mean that they just weren't included on the junior roster? Does that mean that they are just going to focus on one tournament? It's hard to know, right?
Yeah.
But maybe the days of somebody winning or wrestling 16Us and juniors are now gone for the girls. It's possible. It's also possible that maybe we're making this change because of what we saw at the duels where the girls wrestled Greco, and in the future, maybe they're going to put Greco at Fargo for the girls.
I mean, that's basically what I've heard from everybody is that's kind of the path that we're going to see coming up is the push to have girls Greco, which, I mean, look, if you've listened to any of our videos where we talk about duels, I made my opinion rather clear that I like the idea. I just think it needed, I still believe this, I just think it needs more time to develop the correct way. Yeah. So, it is what it is. I hope they don't try to just jerry rig it and push it in next year. So I hope that we get some time until it's ready. But I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, so if this is your first time in Fargo, for everybody else who's watching the video, I want you to know that the battle through the brackets is significant. Like in junior freestyle 145, one of the larger brackets, we start in the round of 256. Okay.
Yep.
That means that you lose in the round of 256 or 128, you have to win like 8 in a row to make the podium.
Yeah, it's not a fun trek back.
It's not. So if you don't have that context and you don't understand kind of where we're coming from, we're going to talk a little bit about the history, a little bit for each state, or at least for last year. And you'll see, like, there are some super talented kids who didn't make the podium. I mean, It just happens. And
I mean, it's one of those things where if you catch a bad draw, you hit the wrong side of the bracket. Now you gotta slog your way through that hellhole that is the backside. So it's tough for sure.
All right, so let's it is. It's super tough. It just really is, and it's tough to make the podium. That's the reason we try to give a lot of love to the people who do end up on the podium, because it's a major accomplishment. All right, so let's start with Team Tennessee, one of the probably hottest teams or hottest states last year, certainly in 16U Greco. And do you have the graphic in front of you from?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, and I'm looking at the lists and whatnot.
So on this graphic, we've got 7 national champs for the state of Tennessee. Nicholas Boykin is your only 2-timer. And you've got the names listed below in each of the groups are those that is their last All-Americans in those weights. And if there's no
Thank God you said it. Oh wait, I'm confused. So did Piper Fowler 4-time AA in 16U women's freestyle, or is she just the last?
She's the last. She was second a year ago in 16U.
Okay, because I guarantee you other people are going to be confused at, wait, there's 26 placers, but there's only 2 guys in 16U men's freestyle. Thank you.
No, there's just 2. I wanted to give the total number and then the last All-Americans, the most recent All-Americans.
Makes sense.
Yes, I need to make sure that that's clear on the blog post. For those that are interested, it is in SC Wrestle Plus. It is a much more detailed breakdown by both Lucas and I as far as we relate to each of these, but we're going to touch on each of these. So yes, as you see it, Piper Fowler, and this is what I was alluding to in the intro. Piper Fowler was an All-American last year in 16Us. She was also an All-American last year in juniors. So will she be given the opportunity? Will she take that opportunity to do it this year? We'll see. But as you look at that, 21 16U men Greco All-Americans from Tennessee, but more importantly, 7 16U Greco All-Americans last year. That's a really, really solid number.
Yeah, no, that's very, very solid.
That is fantastic. And several of those individuals return in 16U. So
yes, they do.
So let's jump real quick. Looking back to 2022, Tennessee was 23rd in junior Greco men, 16th in freestyle men, 25th in freestyle women, 6th in 16U Greco men, 25th in freestyle 16U men, and 23rd in freestyle women. Your only national champion was Cody Chittum. He won it in junior freestyle at 152. He also took 3rd in Greco. But there were a lot of All-Americans. And as we look down this roster and looking to this year, let's take it by just groups. Okay. So junior boys freestyle. Is there a name or two that pops out to you?
I mean, there are some names that obviously pop out. I mean, first off, look at their depth at 20 and talent at 20. Free, Dupil, Gobble, Jacob, and Urchik are all hitters and all can bang. So let's make that clear. Then you move up to 132 pounds with Cooper Hilton and Jarvis Little, both dogs. Hunter Sturgill, Logan Fowler in at 52. Then as you get a little higher up, you look at a guy like a Robert Atwood. Like the state
Mhm.
of Tennessee on their freestyle scene has got some dogs up and down that lineup. The thing that's going to hurt them is that they have no 100, no 6, no 13. Like that's going to hurt them, is that they don't have any lightweights.
Yeah,
And no
well,
182, actually. I just noticed that. No 82 either.
certainly, making a run as far as the team goes,
That's what I
definitely.
meant. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anyone that stands out more on the Greco side than the freestyle for junior boys, or vice versa, in your
Um,
opinion?
not particularly for me, especially because I'm not as hip to. I know Hunter Sturgill is a very good Greco wrestler, so
Well,
I,
he was
I would
second last
maybe.
year in 16 U's.
I was gonna say
So,
I'd probably throw him out there as someone to watch on the Greco side of things, but a guy like a Mason Jacob who's also good at Greco. I mean, but in the state of Tennessee, it seems to me that a lot the guys that are good in freestyle or that are good in Greco are also good at freestyle. They do a
so
great job of training them both.
on both sides, yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting for the junior boys and the junior girls are the first year juniors. So Hunter Sturgill is a first year junior. Cooper Hilton is a first year junior. Jarvis Little is a first year junior. Man, making a jump from 16U to juniors is a tough jump.
No, it absolutely is. Like that I think is so this is where we kind of talked about just certain parts of the atmosphere may this is where we're going to see will it wobble some of these guys is the atmosphere change going from 16U to juniors.
All right, let's move to junior girls freestyle. And just so you know, and I don't know if how aware you are of the junior girls in freestyle, but Ella Murphy is a returning All-American. Several of them, well, I'm not sure several of them. I think Jenna Baines wrestled last year in juniors for Tennessee. Diamond Young is super tough. Yeah, junior girls. Anybody stand out besides the three that I mentioned?
Well, I was going to say, Ella Murphy, obviously returning All American.
Yeah.
Girl's a stud, but Diamond Young to me is someone that I didn't know too much about until rather recently in the
Mhm.
prep for Fargo. So I would have said that she sticks out to me because I would not be surprised to see her make a good run and make the podium.
All right, so let's move to 16U boys. And the thing that stands out to me at 16U boys is Jose Cordero at 94, Tanner Tran at 100, William Phillips at 113, Max Norman at 160. All were All Americans in 16U a year ago. How important is that?
I think super important, and only to add on guys like Chittum and Urchuk and Smout and Fowler. You look at this team, and it's like you want to talk about team in the Southeast and 16U on the freestyle and on the Greco side could possibly make a run to maybe being a top 5 team, maybe even getting as far as to say make a run for a trophy. It might be Tennessee. When you look at the depth of that lineup and the amount of points that they could score from top to bottom, they are primed to be a force this summer.
All right. So if Tennessee is going to crown a champion at 16U, freestyle or Greco, is it Hudson Chittum? Is it Tanner Tran, who was second last year in Greco?
Yeah.
Max Norman, Cy Fowler. You could pick one. Who is going to be the person who would win a national title for 16U? And they might have more than one. I'm just going to put you on the spot with one.
If I'm going to buy stock in one of them, I saw Hudson Chittum at Elite 8, man. And he looks good. He looked good at duels, too. So, man, Max Norman went on a tear.
He did.
Tran, obviously, returning finalist. Hell, I think Cy Fowler, the same weight class. You want to talk about a spot where Cordero also is a hitter. And I got give me Hudson Chittum. If I have to pick one, it's Hudson Chittum. But man, there's like 5 or 6 of them that I think they get the right side of the bracket, they can make a run.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And hey, you want to talk about a dark horse? Cash Waymeyer. I like the kid a lot. Young, I like the kid a lot. I think if there is a dark horse that is completely off the radar for Tennessee to an extent, it's someone like Cash.
I love that. So I like the idea of a dark horse, somebody who has never made the podium previously in Fargo. So in 16Us, you like Cash Waymeyer.
I do. And honestly, it's just from watching the way he wrestles. He wrestles with reckless abandon. He just goes for it, and I love that in especially in a younger kid, because you never got to worry about him pulling the trigger. He's always firing. So yeah, that'd be my
okay. Let's
pick.
finish the 16Us. Let's finish Tennessee with 16U girls. And I mean, look, Piper Fowler was second a year ago. I'm a little surprised she's on the roster. She is on the roster by USA Wrestling, just because most of the world team members, she is a world team member. 2 weeks afterwards, she will be headed to Turkey, I assume, to compete. But regardless of that, and all of that, after taking second a year ago, she has got to be the favorite as a world team member coming in to win a title, and it would be Tennessee's first ever 16U champion, 16U girls
Absolutely.
champion.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that is she's a stud, but I think two other girls that I would love to mention. I had my dual team. We ended up wrestling them both. Ellie Underwood and Trinity Roberts. They were on Team Mayhem. They are both hitters. So I'm telling y'all now, do not be surprised if Underwood and or Roberts also make a run to the podium. They both are studs.
All right, I love that. Do you want to give me a dark horse up in junior boys?
Junior boys, let me
just real quick and before we move on to the next one. As he pulls his glasses down. You see that, everybody? He's blind.
Give me Robert Atwood. I like him. Wait, has he made the podium before?
I don't believe so.
Okay, yeah, then Robert Atwood for me. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's in Greco.
Okay. Well, and to be fair, like Cooper Hilton made the podium in 16U, so he was out of the running as far as that. Yeah. I think Jake Stacy made the podium as well. So those are different individuals that were not necessarily captured in that. All right.
And
so
Mason Butler. And Mason Butler. But Mason Butler I've known for years, so I kind of feel like I'd sound like a homer picking him. But he's a stud, and he's developing real well. So Mason Butler too. Throw him in there. Shout out Butler.
All right, so let's move from Team Tennessee to Team North Carolina. Team North Carolina, as you can see from the graphic above, they have had 5 national champions. They struggled a year ago. Only Cam Stinson and Jeremiah Price were the only two to make the podium. They, as you can see with the years out to in the parentheses in this graphic, it's been a couple of years for some of them to make the podium. But one of the things that's really interesting about North Carolina is that Cam Stinson is back and he's moving up from 16U to junior boys. And definitely one to watch at 120 pounds. In my opinion, one of the best 120 pounders in the entire country.
Agreed.
So let's break down Team North Carolina from top to bottom, starting with the junior boys. Anybody to watch for you? And I mean, I've already mentioned Stinson. Anybody beyond Stinson that we should keep an eye
on? One guy I'd say is Mason Kincaid. Kid's really tough, and I believe he was at Fargo last year. I could be wrong, so please, if I'm wrong, someone check me on that. And Tayshawn Glover, having seen him at a couple of events, I like him a lot too. So those would be my main two. I will say North Carolina is one of my blind spots, ladies and gentlemen. I've been getting better, learning some of the schools and whatnot. So I will completely admit that North Carolina is not the state I am most knowledgeable on.
So to help pick you up a little bit, Samuel Aponte, I think is maybe a 2-time 106-pound state champion in the state of North Carolina at 113. He's one to watch. RJ James at 126. You got Joey Baisley, Eli Murray at 45. There's a lot of names within this group. It's going to be tough, though. I mean, honestly, Junior Boys is a super, super tough tournament. Cam Stinson is certainly the one to watch. All right, so let's move to Junior Girls. And if you notice there, at 132, we have the return of Haley Misplay. So Haley was I think a 16U. She was this last 16U All-American. She was not at Junior Girls she was not in Fargo a year ago.
Wasn't she hurt?
Back. I don't actually know why she was out. Honestly,
I thought that was the gimmick, was that she was hurt.
I really don't know.
I could be wrong as well, ladies and gentlemen. Make that clear. But because shout out Jamie Hurl. She was on my team this past on my girls team, and when we were talking about some of the girls, I think she had said that Haley was banged up. I could be wrong again, and I'm sad to not see Jamie Hurl on this list, man. She's a dog, Jamie. I would like to have seen her, so hopefully next year she get out to Fargo. Jamie's a killer. Quick shout out to Team Fierce and Scrappy member Jamie Hurl.
Is Jamie's a senior though, isn't she?
No,
she's a junior.
Yeah. Junior going on to senior, yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, because she's running it back with us next year for sure.
Okay. Anybody else on that list, or do you want me to go ahead and give you who I know for Junior Girls?
Go ahead, please. Please give me your rundown.
Well, so Kaylee Sudreth is a Lake Norman from Lake Norman. She was out in Fargo a year ago. I don't remember exactly how she did, but I believe that being in Fargo, at least having the experience of Fargo once, only helps you a second time. So, and I believe that because of that, I think Megan Rowland is super tough. I think Isabella Crandall's tough. Teresa Kennedy's tough. You know, some of these names, they wrestled at duels, and that is a good kind of barometer or measuring stick to understanding what's going to happen in Fargo. All right, so let's move to the 16U boys. And the 16U boys, remember, we had Cam Stinson there last year, but it's been since 2021 when Jax Forrest was the last North Carolina All-American in Greco. So anybody stand out to you as far as somebody we should watch from the state of North Carolina in 16U?
So this is where my a couple of names I have seen before, a guy in Bryson McFalls, Elijah Dorsey, Gabe Rogers, I've heard the name of, but I'm not as familiar with these young bucks out of North Carolina.
All right. So I know, and to be fair, I don't know actually several of the names as well. I do know the name Liam Hickey, though. And Liam Hickey, I think, goes to Cardinal Gibbons in North Carolina. And Ethan Brownlee was wrestled a year ago in Fargo. So those are two definitely names that I would watch. Christian Curva and Hayden Haynes. Those are all a few names that I might keep an eye on. All right, 16U girls freestyle. One name that everybody might want to pay attention to is Kennedy Snow, who I believe wrestled last year. And Addison, and I'm going to slaughter Addison's last name, Vindigni. I don't know. Is that how you say it?
Vindigni.
Okay.
That sounds Italian.
So Addison is the younger sister, I believe, of a really good wrestler from the state of North Carolina as well. So definitely somebody you might want to keep an eye on.
And what might their name be?
I want to say Matthew, but that's
Matthew what?
Oh, Vindigni? Is that how you say it?
If this person is Italian, which the spelling of Vindigni makes me believe so.
Vindigni. Yeah, that's probably right.
Well,
as I'm slaughtering it.
Well, no, because if they're Hispanic in some way, shape, or form, or Portuguese, it'd be a different pronunciation. But that does look Italian. So that would be the Italian pronunciation, I do believe. Where's my ma? I need the expert.
All right. So that is the state of North Carolina. Um, they only finished with 2 last year, Jeremiah Price and Cam Stinson. If there's going to be an All-American besides Cam Stinson in this group, whether it's junior boys, junior girls, 16U boys, or 16U girls, who do you think it might be?
I really like Kennedy Snow. And I think she might get it done. Liam Hickey, like you say. Um, there's a couple for sure, and this is where again I'm kind of like going off what you say. Let's roll with Hickey or Dorsey, or like I said, as well Kennedy Snow. I think could get the job done as well for state of North
And
Carolina.
I noticed you picked some 16Us, and the reason you picked 16Us is because 16Us is a little bit of the wild, wild west, right? I mean, you can get on a run in 16Us. I mean, junior boys, that's a whole other level.
Yeah, but sometimes you see guys that, not to say that they shouldn't be there, but sometimes you get a guy who he has a great run on the weekend. And it's hey, he made it happen.
All right, so let's move over to the state of Alabama. All right, and a year ago, it was nice to see Corey Land show up because he had missed 2 previous Fargos because he was on a world team and took a world silver medal, I believe, in Greco. And boy, I'll tell you what, Corey Land in junior freestyle boys and in Greco was superb. He took second in Greco, took first in freestyle. I think he beat Cannon Webster in freestyle and lost to Cannon Webster in Greco. So that's something to consider. All right. So I want you to talk a little bit about the one woman on this list for the state of Alabama that you know pretty well. She was a 16U All-American a year ago, and she's back at 16Us again.
That's Evelyn Holmes Smith, and got to first off, I knew her to begin with through Coach Dodgens at Bruton Parker, and then I got to see my girls from Fierce and Scrappy. We ran into her. Shout out Bay. Would have been Bella Moore that wrestled her. And Evelyn is just on another level. She's a killer, so she's obviously one to watch this weekend. And if you want to talk about a girl from the Deep South that can go make a run at a championship, Evelyn Holmes has got to be high on that list.
I agree with you. I don't know that, again, another state that I don't know that they've had a 16U champion. And winning a title in Fargo is no small feat. So I'm not putting the pressure on Evelyn at all. But after taking 5th a year ago, she certainly has demonstrated she can wrestle on that stage.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that's the furthest thing from the question.
Right. All right. So let's jump to the boys. We covered the girls. Is there actually, before I jump away from the girls completely, is there any other girl, whether it's junior or 16U, that kind of stands out to you that somebody we might want to keep an eye on?
I believe the way you say her first name is Kayleese Hill. I've heard her name before. I've seen her at a couple of events. I think she was at Backyard Brawl as well. I could be mistaken, but I've seen her go to war with a couple really good girls in the Southeast, as well as a girl like Abigail Pendergrass. I think Alabama might actually be able to shock some people and maybe have 2 to 3 All-Americans on the women's side.
So up at junior girls, Elizabeth Rosenthal and Mallory Ladd both went 4-1 at junior duels for Alabama. Again, not exactly the same thing as Fargo, but certainly something to keep in mind. And who knows, maybe an opportunity to make a run. All right, so let's jump to the boys. 16U boys first or junior boys first?
Let's go with the junior boys first. Let's hit them first.
Okay. So off the top of my head, looking at it, Brody Christmas is a returning 16U All-American. Cole Carter is a returning 16U All-American. But what that means is it is their first year in juniors.
Yep.
And taking that step up is a huge step. In fact, as I look at the junior boys, it looks like a fairly young junior squad on paper.
For sure. No, it absolutely is. It's yeah, a
So
lot of guys on the way up.
yeah, so as we look at it, I mentioned Birdie Christmas and Cole Carter. Is there anyone else on that list that you're paying attention to?
I've seen Deshaun Powell at a couple of events, and I like him. I don't know, and I'm not. I don't know how much or how well he translates freestyle and Greco. I don't remember looking at him at duels and seeing how he finished up. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with Powell.
Yeah, so I think Deshaun wrestled in Greg or here a year ago. I think he was like 3-2 or 4-2 in freestyle in 16 U's.
Okay.
So, again, one of those situations where we were a 16U last year, we're now moving to a junior, and yeah, I mean, it's a tough step up, but certainly they've had some success at 16U that only bodes well.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I'm going to bring out a Georgia reference here, and that is, I mean, look at what is it like? Poe Hogan, Latrell Schaefer, Tyler Secoy. They all placed 2 years ago as 16U All Americans. Last year, as first year juniors, they did not.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's
it's for sure
just
something to
it's an
mention.
example of how tough that step is. And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong about Latrell or Hoke or Tyler, please let me know. But I noticed that first year in from 16U to juniors, it's a tough
No,
thing.
it typically is a rather difficult jump.
All right, so 16U boys for Alabama. Again, this looks like a fairly young group. Anybody stand out to you?
On the 16U side of things, I will admit I don't know too many names on here, or even have seen them at events. So this might be one where I mean Carson Burrows, I do believe is Colin Burrows' little brother.
I believe so. Yeah.
So I would say, perhaps him, but again, this might be more of a what do you know, Jason?
Well, so I know Cody Kirk wrestles for Enterprise, same place as Evelyn Holmes Smith.
And same place of Zach McFarland, who went to BPC as well.
That is correct.
I think he's going to Huntington now.
Bradley Hastings is from Hewitt Trustville. Wyatt Chavez is from Mountain Brook. But probably, so I think the majority of these names are, again, first year 16Us. Or if they're not first year 16Us, they didn't wrestle in Fargo a year ago. One person who did wrestle in Fargo a year ago was Justin Harbin, who I think was 2-2 or 3-2. Definitely somebody to watch. But for me, the dark horse in 16Us is Jamison Thomas. Little 94-pounder. I don't believe he got an opportunity to wrestle in duels because I think he was out injured, but he's back. He's on this list. And yeah, definitely somebody to watch in Alabama, from Alabama.
Good to know.
All right, let's make the jump to the state of South Carolina. You with me?
Yep, getting there now.
All right, and as you can see from the graphic, 6 national champions. The last national champion from the state of South Carolina was Genesis Patterson a decade ago.
Which, real quick, what a name. Genesis Patterson. What a name. Not the hell of a name. Hang on. Like, when we sometimes talk about it, Genesis, and you pair it with another two-cell Genesis. Ugh. Well done. Well done to her parents. Great naming.
Well, I will say, in years past, if you were on the outside looking in, South Carolina was the women. The women were the ones to watch, from Zeo Estrada to Daisy Yerby, who was the second last year for women's freestyle, Annalise Marillet, who was an All-American for 16U, to I mean, there's just a number of girls that have always come out of South Carolina that are super tough. But I'm telling you right now, Lucas, this year the boys are going to surprise a few people.
I don't disagree with you. I'm kind of looking at their roster, very much in agreement.
Yeah. So as we look down, let's take the junior boys to start, right? And who are the names that stand out to you? There are two All-Americans on junior boys who were All-Americans in 16U previously. And that is William Jakeway and Giannis Charles.
Yep.
Okay. But probably the best wrestler from the state of South Carolina hasn't been to Fargo previously. And that is Jermaine Peace. JJ
He hasn't been to Fargo?
I don't believe so.
Oh, I would have thought he would have been. Okay.
I know. And as a result, it's going to be super interesting watching him compete in junior boys.
Agreed. No, and then I think there's even more guys like a JoJo Morris, Mason Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and I could be mistaken, I believe Brad Denmark was heavyweight for South Carolina Beast of the Southeast. I thought he was.
I think he might have been. Yeah. So I think you're right. I mean, Teague Strobel wrestled really well last year. Mason Parsons, you already mentioned. Riley Hucks wrestled exceptionally well. Giannis Charles, JoJo Morris. There are a lot of names on this junior boys squad. I don't know how many will actually get through and get onto the podium, but they're going to give some people some challenges.
Agreed. No, I completely agree. I think South Carolina might end up being one of those states this year where we see a lot of guys end and we'll be like, oh, he beat him. Like, or he had a close match with that kid, that maybe he's a killer, or, one of these, really high level guys. Like, I for sure agree that South Carolina, I think, is going to shock some people. Dare we say multiple All-Americans for them this year in juniors?
I think it's a distinct possibility. I think that there's at least two, and maybe four.
Jason, I've been a betting man. I'll say three of them get on the podium from South Carolina. I'll say three.
All right. So my question to you is, will one of them be on the podium in Greco? And is her name Zeo Estrada?
Damn well could be. First off, Zeo Estrada is a hitter. Let's make that 1,000% clear. She is a dog. So, and now I just don't know her Greco prowess. I don't know. I've never seen. I know she went undefeated at duels, but I've never put my eyes on her in Greco. Greco being my better style.
Well,
I like watching
girls wrestling Greco. We haven't seen a whole lot of.
So I don't know what that necessarily says for her, the fact she went undefeated girls Greco. Now, she's a hell of a freestyle wrestler, so don't nobody misunderstand what I'm saying here. But I'll be fairly interested to see it. I for sure think she'll have a good opportunity. Obviously, if she gets a good draw in the bracket, we're having a whole different discussion.
So junior girls, she's number 2 at 113 pounds or at 112 pounds for junior girls. She was a Fargo finalist 2 years ago. She's got to be amongst the favorites to win it as at junior 112.
You would assume. I'm saying, like theory dictates.
All right, so jumping down to the boys, the 16U boys, who are a few names that pop out to you down there?
Out of the junior boy, wait,
no, you 16 you boys, 16.
Okay, I thought you said junior boys. I was like, I thought we just Case and Howell, obviously 182 pounds. Richard Springs at 120. I believe he wrestled a Beast of the Southeast and had a couple of good matches. I could be mistaken.
No, you're right.
And obviously a guy like Asai Strobel, brother to Teague Strobel. Those are the ones that stick out for me. Is there anyone I missed out on there, Jason?
Well, I mean, I think there are a few others that could surprise a few people. AJ De La Cruz is certainly somebody to keep an eye on, but there's no doubt in my mind, like Case and Howell and Richard Springs both wrestled 16Us in Fargo a year ago. We saw both of them wrestle at Beast of the Southeast. We saw Hal beat. I'm trying to remember exactly who Hal beat. He beat Cage Williams from North Carolina, and he beat was it Waddell? Matthew
I
Waddell?
think it was.
I think it
I don't
was
think
too.
you're wrong on that.
Right. If that case in Hal shows up, I'm telling you what, in 16Us, Matthew Waddell last year as a junior wrestled exceptionally well in Fargo. Case and Howell is legit in 16Us. No doubt about it.
No, I agree. No, completely agree.
Richard Springs is certainly another one to keep an eye on. And then we go to the girls, 16U girls. And this is where I'm a little, it's a little interesting to me. We only have 3 names: Rachel Hayes, Vivian Urola, and Cruz Castilla. And typically, you know, the girls are super deep and super tough. And yet I don't think any of them have wrestled in Fargo previously.
Interesting.
So that is something to note. Best of luck to all 3 of them. But I'm not willing to kind of put myself out there because I have no idea how any 3 newcomers are going to fare.
I was going to say,
Fargo.
you say whatever you want here. I don't really know enough. I was going to say, I'm completely out. I don't know. Sorry.
No, I mean, so I base it. So I do know that Vivian wrestled well at junior duels, I believe. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But duels and Fargo are 2 different beasts.
Entirely. And I don't know if we've maybe made it clear enough. I think we have, but I want to say it again for maybe someone that missed out. Just because your son or daughter had a real good duels, I hope that they don't put different expectations on them. Like Fargo is, there are guys that don't go to duels that go to Fargo that are hitters. So let's make that clear that Fargo is its own beast.
Oh, it is. There's no doubt about it. And it's not even that it's as much of that. I mean, you're going to run into really tough wrestlers, but you're going to have to win match after match after match after match. And then if you take a loss, and on that backside to make the podium, that's just it's a tough thing over 2 days to do. Really, yes. 1 day, but 2 days is the second day is placement and everything else. All right, let's move to the state of Georgia. And you know a little bit about the state of Georgia.
I was gonna say, this is where I get to be the real smart one. This is one of the few times where I know a lot.
So as you see the graphic that we've just posted with 27 national champions. Yeah.
8 of them. Shout out Sean Haig. Jesus.
Coach Haig, Lumpkin County is, I mean, at this tournament, there is no one better. I mean, there's just, unbelievable.
I would say, is he the GOAT? Like, do we crown him, put the horns on him? Like, is he the GOAT?
Well, there are 2 that have who have 8 titles. He being one of the 2.
Yeah.
But he was the first. And I will tell you, in Fargo, I don't know that there's a better person. I mean, he never lost.
That's doing that at Fargo, pretty nutty. I mean,
it wasn't like one tournament. It's not like he went one time and never lost.
It's not like he went one time. Jesus.
I mean, he went like, I don't know. He wrestled in 8 different tournaments and won all of them.
Undefeated, Sean. What's that? At least 30 something wins, close to 40, because you think 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, so that's 6 times 8. I'm not a math guy.
48, 50, yeah.
So that's at least 48 wins, at least, if not more. That's, all right. Jesus. Shout out, Haig.
So let's go to a little bit more recent. State of Georgia had 3 All-Americans in 16U men's freestyle. 2 All-Americans in junior men's freestyle, 5 in 60U men's Greco, 3 in junior men's Greco, and we had Genevieve On, who made the podium in both 16U and juniors.
Genevieve On, pretty good. pretty
good. Now
good,
she's a junior.
high.
She's a junior this year, so she wouldn't have the opportunity to wrestle 16Us and juniors this year. But yeah, definitely really good. Let's jump in to the junior boys.
Okay.
And you know this crew pretty well.
Yes, I do.
There are a lot of names. I mean, if you're a Georgia person, you know these names exceptionally well. So Bambinelli, All-American 2 years ago, didn't go to Fargo last year, right? Schaefer, Secoy, Hacker was an All-American last year in Greco in 16Us. Drew Gorman, probably the highest. He took 3rd in junior freestyle for men. If there's going to be a champion in junior boys from the state of Georgia, it's going to be.
I think we might be on 2 separate beliefs. Who do you think?
I don't know. You tell me.
I have an odd pick.
Okay. I love it. Who do you got?
I like me some Logan Paradise, man.
Do you really?
All right.
We are on different wavelengths. And the reason we're on different wavelengths is because of this. Is because while Logan Paradise was a 2-time 16U All-American last year, he was 16U.
That's fair. No, it's completely fair. As well, a guy like a Drew Gorman, I think, is a heavy contender. I think you want to talk about something nutty. Georgia could have 3 All-Americans at the same weight class. And people who don't know are going to call me nuts. Dominic Bambinelli, Latrell Schaefer, and Tyler Secoy are monsters. All 3 of them. All 3 D1 talents going D1. Shout out Secoy, going to be a Buffalo at NDS, or a Bison, excuse me. He's going to be at NDSU. This is his future home. But as well, guys like Tanner Spalding in the mix. There's a lot of guys, but for me, and I almost forgot about Hulk Paul, Luke Cochran, Brock Hacker, all killers, right? We know this.
Right.
For me, it's Logan brings this. He just brings this different level to freestyle and Greco because he's a psychopath. And I mean that in the best way. No, his parents know I love him. That's my boy. He's a nutcase, and I mean that in the best way. So,
okay, I love the pick. I just don't know if I love the pick this year as a first-year junior.
Paradise, prove me right, Sean.
All right,
prove me right.
So I'm gonna say, if there's a champ, that champ happens at 170.
I don't disagree with that because I think all 3 of them might make the podium. I don't think that's necessarily a crazy thought. That, hell, you want to say something crazier? How about a Dom Bam, Latrell Schaefer, or Secoy final?
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy?
I don't think it's impossible. I really don't.
All right, so
especially in Greco, where all 3 of them are good, and Man.
So tell me, who would be your dark horse in junior boys?
Oh, a dark horse.
Somebody who has not placed previously.
A guy like Colson Hoffman, a Kale Kusky, Austin Marshall, Adam Lumpkin. But if I gotta pick one, I really like me some Tank Weaver. For sure, out of Camden County, my arch nemesis. But give me my mini me and my little brother. Give me Seth Larson.
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot that could end up on the podium, but Seth Larson had a good run last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a bold claim. Georgia could end juniors with 10 All-Americans this year.
Oh, wow. That would be huge. Because how many did they have last year?
3. No. Yeah,
well,
like
junior freestyle 2, junior Greco 3, with 2 that were overlappers, right?
This is my thing, and I'm gonna split it for a second. Bam, Latrell, Seacoy, Gorman, Paradise, Larson, Cochran, Folk, Hacker. These are and Spalding. I'm just picking ones that have great wins in freestyle and or Greco. Now you look at Greco, throw in a guy like an Emil Necula, Alexander Reed, who's better at Greco. Like, I think that I'm not saying 10 in freestyle. That's a nutty stat. But don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if by the end of junior boys freestyle and Greco, GA has 10 All-Americans. In fact, cook it.
All right. That is
bold,
that's a bold claim.
And I'll make it and I'll wear it. And when I'm wrong, the rest of the Southeast can laugh at me. I don't care. I don't care.
We laugh at you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So who gives a damn? I'm going to make my picks anyway.
Let's go to the junior girls. How many are they going to have?
I think 2 or 3 is very doable out of this crew for sure.
Okay. I agree with that. Genevieve Vaughn, second obviously. Last year in 16Us, 5th or 6th, I think, in juniors. Definitely will be one of the ones that should be at the very top at 180.
Absolutely.
Who else do you have on that list?
Obviously, a girl like an Epstein who's been around the block and been everywhere. May Shanahan's tough, and Ariana Bacon. But my dark horse is at 127 pounds, Jasmine Jenkins Bay, also of Columbus. Quick shout out to what they're doing down there. But man, I like what I see of her. I've watched her wrestle, and every time I've watched her better, she's added something new to the arsenal, something new to the bag of tricks. And I think at an event like Fargo, it's about just having a bag of tricks where you got a lot to use because you're going to need it. So that's my big dark horse out of the girls is Jasmine Jenkins Bay for sure.
All right, mine is Ariana Bacon, but I'm right there with you.
That's not a bad pick at all. Like she can bang with the best of them, so for sure.
Let's go to the 16U boys, and I'll tell you what, 16U boys. Who ends up with more All-Americans? 16U boys or junior boys?
16U could give them a run for sure. Like for sure. Like you want to talk about guys like just I'm just gonna name off some Georgia names, like just to name names for a second. Trash Prado, James Severs, Roman Bellardo, Josiah Boyden, and I'm gonna miss someone too because I'm Hunter Keene, Nate Nielsen, Blue Stifler, Nate Askew, Jacob Bauckham. You go down a little bit further, you look at a guy like an Ethan Secoy, Jackson Marfit, Jake Reams, Xander Dawson, Caleb Forbes, who I got to coach, Ryder Wilder, and up top, returning finalist, Jacob Levy. Like, you want to talk about a crew? This is a crew.
So who ends up with more All-Americans, 16U or juniors?
I'm gonna say juniors. I'm gonna hedge to the juniors, but let me tell you something. I think there's more national championship opportunities, perhaps, at a 16U group.
Yeah,
especially when you look at Greco, you got Josiah Boyden sitting there.
Unbelievably good,
sitting there. No, that's what I'm saying. Jacob Levy and Ryder Wilder for a kid that only started wrestling freestyle and Greco this Elite 8 passed. He's scary, man.
And to be fair to Ryder Wilder, who went out and took his lumps against the number 4 ranked kid in the country, the number 6 ranked kid in the country.
But I'm going to lose my mind. There was one match he had. Who did he have on the ropes? Remember. It was Beast of the East. I'm losing my mind. But he had someone like a top 6 kid on the ropes. And it was his first time wrestling freestyle and Greco. That's nuts. Like, that doesn't make sense. But that, man.
All right. So my final question to you as far as 16U boys goes like this. And that is, who is your dark horse? can't pick Levy. You can't pick.
I got a dark
You
horse.
can't get Gabe Swan. You can't pick Nate Askew because they were all on the.
Yeah, that's fine.
They were all there
I don't
last
need
year.
him. That's fine.
All right.
For me, my dark horse is Team Fat and Scrappy. Well, okay, let me say this. Ryder Wilder, while he's never placed at Fargo, people know him. I think it's kind of cheap saying, oh, well, he's my dark horse. People know who he is. Give me, at 138 pounds, Nate Nielsen. Kid works his tail off, Team Fat and Scrappy. By the way, Blue Stifler, world team member. So that also, to me, like, yeah, you're on the world team. Like, yeah, no dirt, you're going to be really good at Fargo. It's like picking Josiah Boyden for me. Like, the dude just won the U.S. Open. If we're calling him a dark horse, then the sun is rising in the West. Call it what it is. Like, a real dark horse to me, a real dark horse to me, give me Nate Nielsen. I'll ride with that kid through anything because he's a gamer. He just wants to wrestle. And
all
obviously,
right.
And there are other ones that, but for me, I'm picking Nielsen.
I asked you to pick one. I mean, you could go through so many of these different names.
You
I mean,
could pick
Jake
10
Ream,
in that group.
Xander Dossett. I mean, you could go through tons of them.
Christopher Metz as well has been on a tear and been wrestling fantastically recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if at 94 pounds he makes a good run. Or kids like a Cash Prado, specifically in Greco. Like, on there. Like, I can name 30 guys, but.
All right, 16U girls. How many All-Americans? And, you know, to be fair, the girls, both in juniors and 16U, took a few bumps. Like, I mean, Greta Garbazovas.
A few.
So of those,
Greta, Melvin, Shizer.
I know Shizer.
Yeah.
Jay Massa.
Massa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jeez, like.
All right. So who from 16U girls should we watch?
I think there's a handful, man. First off, Cadence Grulla. She's a bit younger in freestyle and Greco, but man, is she tough. I got the opportunity to coach her. Team Fierce and Scrappy member, Cadence Grulla. Ollie Weiland is a hitter. Artemis Eaton is. I knew who Artemis Eaton was. I knew who she was, but I never put a name to a face. Watched her at GA State, win a state title. Then watched her freestyle in Greco State. Then getting to coach her. She ticks all the boxes of a superstar in the making. She really does. That chick is legit. Delilah Batansis is a killer, as well as Izzy West, might I add, who gave Artemis a hell of a match at Freestyle State. So she's a toughie too. Ellie Kaufman, killer. Liz
you can't
Martinez.
Name everybody's name. You can't name everybody on the roster.
Just let me. Liz Martinez is a hammer, but the real dark horse to me, and this girl's like my little sister, so I don't care. Call me a homer. I already saw that you picked her in your dark horses, but I really don't care. Nora Garbazovas, like, she to me is that one step away from being at that same level as not only her sister, but a lot of these girls in the state that. I feel like when Nora gets out of these 6 inches in her own brain, she can beat anybody in the country. And I mean that. So to me, if I had to pick one, it's either Nora or it's Artemis. But this team could end up with 4 or 5 All-Americans, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. I think a good goal for them is 2 or 3. But,
all right.
But don't be surprised if they come out with a handful. Don't be surprised.
All right. So let's move to the state of Florida and wrap this up as far as our preview goes. State of Florida has 76 national champs, 3 4-timers, Artelona, Grajales, Sean McCoy. Last year, man, they had just some great wrestling.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, they put a ton on the podium, wrestled super well. Junior men's Greco was 4th. Junior 16U Greco was 3rd. They were top 10 in 16U men's freestyle. Their girls were 6th in junior freestyle. I mean, this was an impressive run by Florida. Will we see the same thing happen again?
I think we'll for sure see another great performance out of them. I don't know if we're going to see the same thing.
I mean, five national champions last year.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see that again per se, but I will say as we decided to move the Southeast 7 till after Fargo, I'm going to say this about the state of Florida. You want to be number one ranked? If they come out, in fact, I will say this. If Florida comes out with 5 national champions again, they will jump Georgia in the Southeast 7. They'll have to.
They should jump Georgia if they come out with 5.
Absolutely. No, I'll make that clear. If they have the same type of performance again, yeah, they'll jump Georgia for sure. Like,
right.
This is where Florida for sure pops out at Fargo every year. And last year was just an incredible performance on their part.
All right. So who is most likely from the junior boys to kick them off with a national title?
That's a tough question, man, because they have a lot. I mean, you look at a guy like a Franklin Ordonez, a Claudio Torres, Omar Barak. I butchered his name at the podium last year too, so I'm sorry to him ahead of time, but he's a stud. Caleb Rodriguez is a hitter. You know, you look down low, Jace Paradon, Christian Fretwell, Elijah Lowe, Ethan Rivera. But man, if I got to pick one, I'm going with Sebastian DeGennaro. Okay. Oh, and I forgot Eli Solis was Solis was sitting in there too. Excuse me, please, South Dade people, do not assault me when we get to Fargo, please. I did not mean to forget his name. My apologies, as well as Anderson Heath. He might just beat my ass, but Sebastian DeGennaro, man, I think he's that guy that when it comes to this crew that's coming out of Florida, he might be one of those that really, and oh my God, I almost forgot about Kendrick Hodge. I almost completely didn't say his name, but there's so many guys in here that it's sometimes tough to make sure I see all of them, but
no, there is. In fact, the reason, and one thing that you won't see unless you're really paying attention is look down at Junior Greco 220.
I'm changing my answer. I'm changing my answer. Sawyer Bartels, did not see him in there. Holy, yeah, okay. Why is he invested in freestyle? Did you not like freestyle as much?
I don't know. I'm surprised he's not listed in freestyle. But I will say he just took second or silver in Pan American at the Pan American Games.
Silver is second best
for U20s in Greco.
Yeah, silver is second. Yep, yeah. You got that right.
Thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
So there are, like you said, a lot of hitters. Draven McCall was a 16U All-American last year. You know, Franklin, I told you, Franklin Ordonez Fernandez is absolutely top-notch 182 Greco wrestler. I mean, unbelievable. All right, so there is a lot. Now the question is, how many did they have last year? Let's see. They had
5.
They had 5. No, they had 3 freestyle All-Americans and 5 Greco All-Americans. So, and Sawyer and Abden and Vergara they did it in both styles. All right. So my question to you is, 6, I'm sorry, in Greco. So my question to you is, how many do they end up with in juniors?
I'm going to wager 8 total. Between freestyle and Greco, I think 8.
8.
I think them and Georgia are both going to have, and Tennessee, like, let's talk about this for a second. I think Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida, between the two styles, will all have 6 or more placers.
So that might be, I love it. Might be a homer pick. Just how tough Fargo is.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I'm with you.
I think 6 is a fair number. If I was a homer, I'd say they'd all have 10.
True. All right. So junior boys.
Yep.
Somebody not on the radar. Somebody who is flying way under the radar who is going to show out and going to make the podium?
I do really like Anderson Heap, but I don't know if you would necessarily call him under the radar. So if you don't, give me Sawyer Van Ryder.
Okay.
I like the kid a lot. And I think he's one of those guys at Osceola that sometimes doesn't get the same shine, because especially this year, Colin Heap, Haas, like there were so many killers that I feel like he maybe got a little pushed to the side, one might say.
Van Ryder doesn't wrestle for Osceola.
Who am I thinking of then?
I don't know.
They're 220, the Blondie.
Oh, Van Sickle.
Oh, see, that makes sense. Now you sunk my battleship. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. I'm an idiot.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, Van Sickle, not Van Ryder. Sawyer Van Ryder has wrestled in Fargo a year ago, and super good. Interesting pick. I don't know if he's a dark horse. My dark horse is Elijah Penn.
Man, these Floridians hate me because I don't know anything about their state. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. Like, I actually thought that was the kid I was thinking of. It's Matt Van Sickle. Whatever.
It's all good. It's all good.
Moving on.
Christian Fretwell took third last year in Greco in 16U. Right.
That's why I didn't pick him. I didn't think he was really a dark horse. I don't think if you placed it all, I'm not picking you as a dark horse. I don't care if you move 16U to junior.
No, I agree with that. And that's the reason
I don't think that's really like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, Elijah Penn's a hell of a pick.
All right. Junior girls. Last year, junior girls had 4 All-Americans, 2 national champs. One of those national champs, Claire Bowie, is back. She's got to be one of the favorites, I would assume.
Obviously, we're reigning and defending champion as well.
Right. So my question to you is, you've got Sofia Delgado, was an All-American in 16U, I think. Maybe.
Yep.
Juniors?
I do believe so.
You got Cheyenne Cruz, who was also a 16U All-American. But 3 names. Milana Borelli, Catherine Stewart, and Grace Leota all have wrestled super well. So,
yeah, no, I agree.
And you know what? I'm totally forgetting about the 100-pounders. Gabrielle Tedesco was an All-American last year.
Are you going to just completely forget Kalani Vega exists?
Yeah, and Kalani Vega. Absolutely. All right. So I just named a bunch of different names. If we take Bowie off of winning a national title, like let's assume that she is a favorite or whatever. Who is our other one that might make a run for a title?
Man, I really like Cheyenne Cruz out of Middlesburg. Quick shout out to RPA and Riot. Jamie runs a hell of a program down at Riot as a club, and obviously Middlesburg. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Ethan Larson and all them are going to be mad at me because I forget the coach out of Middlesburg's name for the life of me. But he's a good dude. Yes, thank you, Cole. Cole. Yeah, Cole he runs a great program down there in Middlesburg, and a growing one that I think as well is making the right moves. So if I got to pick one obviously I think Cheyenne Cruz to me is one of them, but Borelli wrestles real good. Vega's had a great season. Delgado being an All-American on the way. I think there's a couple, but if you're asking me to pick one, I'd say Cheyenne Cruz.
All right. One person in that girls group who nobody's talking about, but they should be.
Man, see, this is where me not knowing as much is a little tough. I remember Icart Galamet from the state tournament. She had a hell of a state tournament, that might be my pick there.
Yeah, a North Miami girl who she's now a 2-time state champ or a 1-time state champ, but she was super tough. You were absolutely right.
No, I remember, and me and her had a funny little interaction at the podium because I saw that name and I looked at one of the old guys, and I'm not saying that he was an older gentleman who was helping us. And I said, "How do you say that name?" And he said, "Don't you dare ask me." So I went and I found her. I was like, "Please tell me how to say your name." And listen, to all the Floridians, do apologize for butchering that. I told Price I'm never doing that again because some of y'all school names are unfair and some of your real names are unfair. I'm not doing that again unless I'm getting paid for it. But
All right,
yeah, that'd be my pick probably.
let's jump to 16U boys. Last year's 16U boys,
Where they have 3,000 people again.
They're Greco. I think they had 7 All-Americans in Greco. They had 5 All-Americans in freestyle. The first person, and the person I'm going to just go ahead and say right off the top is Michael Mako, who was a 2-time All-American in 16U and returns. But besides Michael Mako, there are some really, really good individuals in this group.
Agreed.
So give me a few that we should keep an eye on.
A big one that jumps off the page to me is Yandro Soto. I got to watch him a handful of times at tournaments like Elite Eight. That kid is tough. Zeno Moore is a name that some of you, if you've watched Elite Eight and some of these other events, you might know real well. Mason Odell. Up top, other than Michael Mako, I've seen Todd Mancini. I don't know what events, probably state meet, but I'm not as familiar. But I've seen his name before at events. So those would be the ones that hop off the page to me.
All right. Is there someone that didn't place a year ago that you think is our dark horse and will make the podium this year?
Did Soto place last year? If not, I'm picking him.
No.
Then I'm picking him. That kid is super, super tough. And I like the way he wrestles too, always pushing forward. If you notice with me, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the guys I like are the guys that can do 2 things. Push forward and look to score points, but also when have to, they can make stuff happen off the counters. And Yandro Soto might have the best counter attack knee pick I've seen in my life. He hit it twice in Elite Eight where I nearly fell out of my chair. That kid is super tough. So if I got to pick one... No, we're like he'll catch on a down block and he'll catch that outside elbow as they come up, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful little sequence. So that would probably be my pick.
Well, and to be fair, just like EJ Solis up at juniors, Yandro Soto just won a Pan American gold for U17s for Puerto Rico.
Mind. It's not a dark horse. Never mind. It's not a dark horse.
Well, it is a dark horse. He hasn't been to Fargo.
But that's not okay.
All right, so
that's cheap of me, but I'm going to take it.
I'm going to give you 2. And my 2 are Liam Davis down at 113 and Jose Gutierrez at 152. Gutierrez wrestled really, really well at duels. Definitely one to watch.
Oh, missed one because I didn't see. Gavin Fisher. I met him through Madison Blackburn. Kid's super tough as well. I think he also had a good duels. So I like Gavin Fisher.
All right, 16U girls, and wrap this up. So 16U girls, this is an interesting group. Last year, Tedesco, Delgado, Cruz all joined Mary Manis on the podium. Mary is back at 16U. She was a runner-up last year. So I would assume she is probably the person to watch in 16U girls. But who else? Who else is someone to watch in 16U girls?
So Kaylani Barrientos, I've heard, and I vaguely remember her from the state tournament. I know I've watched her, and that's the problem is I'm not. What gets me is I know names and faces, but because I haven't watched them as much, I haven't all the time put name to a face. Sophie Boo, obviously down low, but one for me is Maya Bethel as well, for sure to watch out for.
Yeah, so I love that pick. Maya Bethel is, I think, a 2-time folk style state champ from North Miami. And I don't know how she's going to do in freestyle, but she is good. And I am anxious to watch her compete.
I'm intrigued by it for sure. Because I remember from the state meet, she had a real good state tournament. I just want to see how it transfers for sure.
All right, guys, that is our preview of the Southeast. I don't know how long that took. It's probably been a few minutes. Hopefully you can jump ahead or whatever too. I know a few. So as you guys all head to Fargo, we want to wish you the best of luck. All right. We will be there. Lucas is going to be running around with a phone or a camera hopefully doing a couple of interviews, talking to people as
Oh,
they
absolutely.
finish. We want to capture as much of what is happening in the Fargo Dome as possible. I don't know if May Prado is going to be there helping us as well, but look for all of us. And I mean, we want to share kind of your experience through Fargo. So
Yeah. If Jason decides to give me a damn messy wrestle shirt, still hasn't given me one in all the years I've known him, worked with him. But you know, if he decides to, I'll have that or a fat and scrappy shirt on either way.
I don't have an extra one. I've given them all away, but I will order more. I will.
No. Well, when you order more,
When we order more, we're gonna do an Essie and Scrappy shirt.
Oh, for sure. I got a logo I'm making. I'm in the process of making one. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say something real quick, because it's happened to me once before. If I didn't mention your name,
right,
do not run up on me. Like I'm sorry. There's a lot of people
totally run up on him.
I know I'm gonna end up having to fight somebody. If it's Michael Mako, I'm running. I'm going the other way. I'm not dealing with it. I'm just not. Because then I gotta deal with the dad. And I'm not dealing with Big Mako. Man, I've never met Mako. I want to actually meet. I'm gonna try to get a hold of him and talk to him for a minute. But beyond that, in all seriousness, safe travels to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the best of luck, obviously. This might be the most exciting event of the year just because of all the different storylines coming into Fargo every year. So I'm excited to see it. And I'm excited to be a part of it as well, going back to the Fargo Dome.
Well, and Lucas and I mean, we tried to keep this as short as possible. We didn't mention everybody's name. We talk a little bit more detail on the actual website, so go check that out. And yeah, best of luck. It's going to be a great time. You guys are going to do great.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, man.